High above the quiet rooftops of a little town, a striped cat named Momo stretched out on a garden wall. The night was calm, and the air smelled of blooming jasmine, carrying its sweetness gently through the streets. The stars glittered like tiny lanterns, and the moon, round and glowing, seemed closer than usual, almost as though it was leaning down to listen. Momo's whiskers twitched as he stared up at that moon. Every night he looked at it, silver and steady, glowing brighter than all the stars. It always felt like the moon was smiling just at him, a friend waiting patiently in the sky. Tonight, as he curled his paws under his chin, he whispered, "I wish I could visit you, just once, and see what dreams you hold." The breeze brushed through the leaves of the garden tree, and the wind chime on the porch gave a soft, tinkling sound, like an answer. Momo's tail swished slowly, and his eyes grew heavier, but he did not curl up to sleep yet. He kept watching the moon, and as he did, something magical began to stir. The stars around it twinkled brighter, their light forming a faint path that stretched downward, like a silver ladder reaching toward the earth. Momo blinked, wondering if his eyes were playing tricks. But no, the light grew clearer, softer, like threads of moonlight weaving a ribbon through the night sky. The ribbon drifted lower and lower, until it touched the rooftop of the garden shed just across from where Momo sat. It glowed warmly, shimmering, inviting him closer. The cat stood, his paws light and silent against the wall, and leapt gracefully to the shed. His eyes sparkled as he looked at the glowing path. "Is this for me?" he whispered to the moon, his voice no louder than the wind. The ribbon of light pulsed softly, as though it was nodding. Momo's heart filled with a gentle excitement, not the kind that made him restless, but the kind that made him feel safe and welcomed. He stepped onto the glowing path, and instead of falling through, his paws rested firmly as though the moonlight had turned into solid stone. The ribbon stretched upward, leading straight to the round, glowing moon. Momo took a deep breath, his whiskers quivering, and began his journey. Each step felt lighter than the last, his paws leaving tiny sparks of silver where they touched. Below him, the rooftops of the little town grew smaller, the lanterns on the streets twinkling like fireflies. Above him, the stars widened their circle, making space for him as he climbed closer and closer to the moon. And as the cat padded softly upward, the whole night seemed to sing, crickets in the gardens, owls in the trees, and the whispering wind carrying him forward. Momo padded higher and higher along the glowing ribbon of light, his paws silent but leaving tiny silver sparks that trailed behind him. The night sky opened wider around him, darker yet full of comfort, and the stars seemed to lean closer, as though they were curious about this little cat making his way to the moon. The world below, the houses, the gardens, the lantern-lit streets, grew smaller and softer, fading into a blur of twinkling dots. All around him now was sky, endless and calm, filled with a hush that wrapped him like a blanket. The ribbon of moonlight pulsed gently beneath his paws, steady and sure. It felt warm, almost like fur brushed with sunlight, and it gave him courage. His striped tail swayed behind him as he walked, and every few steps he paused to look around. To his amazement, he wasn't alone. From the edges of the starlit sky, tiny beings floated closer. They looked like little sparks at first, like fireflies drifting in the dark. But as they came nearer, Momo saw that each one was shaped differently, each glowing faintly with its own soft color. One star creature had wings like a butterfly, shimmering with silver dust. Another looked like a tiny fox made of blue light, its tail curling behind it like a glowing brushstroke. A third was shaped like a small bird, its wings unfolding and folding as it hovered close, leaving trails of golden sparks wherever it moved. Momo stopped and tilted his head curiously. His whiskers twitched as he whispered, "Hello." The star creatures didn't speak in words, but their light flickered brighter, and they circled him happily, as though to say, "We see you. We'll walk with you." The butterfly star danced ahead of him, flitting lightly along the ribbon of moonlight. The fox star padded to his side, glowing softly, while the bird star hovered just above his head, its sparks falling like a shower of golden feathers. Momo purred quietly, his chest vibrating with joy. He felt safe, surrounded by these gentle companions. With their company, the ribbon no longer felt lonely but alive, like a path woven just for him. He padded forward, his paws steady, his eyes wide with wonder. As they walked together, the star creatures showed him marvels hidden in the sky. Off to the side of the moonlit path, clusters of stars gathered in shapes, some like fields of flowers, glowing faintly, their petals shimmering as though the night itself had grown a garden. Others looked like rivers, streams of starlight flowing across the dark sky, glimmering with soft ripples. When Momo leaned closer, he could almost hear the rivers singing, their songs blending into the hush of the night. The butterfly star fluttered toward one of the glowing gardens, brushing its wings against the flowers. The blooms opened wider, spilling silver pollen that drifted gently into the air. The fox star pawed playfully at the starry river, sending ripples of light dancing outward. The bird star gave a little trill, scattering golden sparks that floated down to the ribbon path. Momo's eyes followed each sparkle, his purr growing louder. He paused to sit for a moment, his tail curling around his paws, and he looked back the way he had come. The town was so far away now that it looked like a cluster of fireflies in the dark, quiet and small beneath the great blanket of stars. Ahead of him, the moon glowed larger, brighter, welcoming him closer with every step. It seemed so near now that Momo thought he could almost touch it with his whiskers if he stretched far enough. The star creatures gathered around him, their bodies glowing brighter in unison. The butterfly star brushed its wings over his ears, and for a moment, Momo felt as though it was saying, "Don't worry. Keep going. You're almost there." The fox star brushed against his side, warm as though made of gentle fire. The bird star circled once overhead, showering him with sparks that clung like glitter to his striped fur. Momo rose again, his paws sinking into the ribbon of light, and he walked onward with renewed calm. The moon was waiting. The path shone brighter. The stars above hummed their steady, voiceless song. He no longer felt like he was walking alone, he was part of the night now, part of the sky, with gentle guides by his side and the glowing moon just ahead. Step by step, he moved closer, his little heart full of peace. Momo padded along the moonlit ribbon, the silver path carrying him higher until the moon filled the whole sky. It no longer looked far away and untouchable, it glowed so near, so bright, that it felt like a warm lantern waiting just for him. His star friends, the butterfly, the fox, and the bird, stayed close as he walked, their light flickering with excitement as though they, too, were eager to see what awaited at the end of the glowing road. The last stretch of the path shimmered more brightly than ever. It was as if the moon itself was sending all its light down into the ribbon, guiding Momo safely. His paws pressed softly into the glowing surface, leaving behind faint paw prints that sparkled before fading. His whiskers twitched with anticipation, and his striped tail swished gently behind him, but his heart felt calm. There was no rush. The moon wasn't going anywhere. It was waiting for him, patient and kind. At last, the ribbon touched the moon, spreading out into a glowing archway. Momo stepped carefully across, blinking as the soft light surrounded him, until suddenly the ground beneath his paws changed. It was no longer a shining ribbon but a smooth, pale surface that stretched in every direction. Yet it wasn't cold or harsh, the way he might have imagined moonrock. Instead, it was soft, like walking on clouds dusted with starlight. Momo took a tentative step, then another, and then he looked up. His eyes widened with wonder. The moon wasn't empty. It was alive. Before him stretched a meadow, but not like the meadows he knew on Earth. This one glowed faintly with silver grasses that swayed even though there was no wind. Flowers with crystal-like petals bloomed all around, their centers glowing softly like lanterns. When Momo brushed his nose against one, the petals trembled and released a puff of silver dust that sparkled like snowflakes before drifting away. He sneezed lightly, and the sound echoed in the stillness, not loudly, but as though the moon itself had chuckled. The star creatures joined him. The butterfly star fluttered down to rest on one of the glowing flowers, making it open wider. The fox star bounded playfully across the meadow, leaving trails of light where its paws touched. The bird star soared upward and circled over Momo's head, scattering golden sparks that fell like shooting stars. Momo padded deeper into the lunar meadow, his paws brushing through the glowing grasses. Each blade bent softly, releasing the faintest notes, as if the moon was singing with every step he took. Together, the notes blended into a melody so gentle that Momo felt his chest loosen, his whole body sinking deeper into calm. As he walked, he came to a pool at the center of the meadow. Its water shimmered not with reflections but with moving dreams. When Momo peered into it, he saw visions: children tucked under blankets, rabbits curled in burrows, dogs snoozing by fireplaces, owls resting in nests. The pool didn't just reflect, it showed the dreams of every creature below, all glowing together like tiny lanterns floating in the night. Momo lowered his head, and the pool rippled. For a moment, he saw his own reflection, then a dream forming around it, himself curled safely in his garden at home, the moon shining above him. The sight made him purr softly, the vibration rumbling in his chest like a lullaby. The lunar meadow stretched endlessly, but it was peaceful rather than overwhelming. Everywhere Momo looked, there was softness: silver trees with leaves that looked like feathers, hills made of glowing mist, and trails of stars that seemed to weave themselves between the flowers. It was a place not of noise or bustle but of quiet joy, a place meant for rest. Momo curled his tail neatly around his paws and sat still for a long while, gazing at the glowing meadow. He could feel the calm sinking into his whiskers, his fur, his very bones. He realized the moon wasn't just a place to look at from far away, it was a place of dreams, where all the sleepy wishes of the earth came to rest, safe and loved. His star friends gathered close again. The butterfly rested lightly on his ear, the fox circled and leaned against his side, and the bird perched just above, its sparks dripping down like golden raindrops. Together, they surrounded him in warmth and light, as if to say, "This is the heart of dreams. You have found it." Momo purred louder, his eyes blinking slowly. He felt that he could stay here forever, wandering the lunar meadow, listening to its quiet songs. Yet deep in his heart, he knew this was not just a place to explore, it was a place to rest, to let himself drift into the deepest, gentlest dreams. The stars above the meadow blinked in unison, twinkling softly, and Momo lowered his head against the glowing grass. The lunar meadow hushed around him, as though preparing itself for sleep alongside him. Momo rested in the glowing lunar meadow, his paws tucked neatly beneath him, his striped tail curled across the silver grass. The star creatures lingered around him, warm and watchful, their lights blinking softly in rhythm with his calm breathing. He thought perhaps this was the end of his journey, that the moon had brought him here to lie quietly among the glowing flowers. But then, something shifted. The meadow brightened. Not suddenly, but like the slow rising of dawn, the light deepening and widening across the horizon. Momo lifted his head and blinked. Above the meadow, the great round moon that he had seen all his life seemed to lean closer. Its silvery glow pulsed gently, the same way a heart might beat, until the entire meadow was bathed in a soft, living light. Momo's ears twitched as a new sound entered the meadow. It was not a song like the grasses or a trill like the starbird. It was deeper, slower, like a voice carried in the hush of the night. It spoke without words, yet Momo understood it as clearly as if it had been whispered into his ear. "Little one," the voice said, low and kind. "You have followed the ribbon of light. You have walked among the stars. And now you are here, in the heart of dreams." Momo's whiskers quivered. He lowered his head respectfully, as though bowing to a friend he had long admired from afar. His purr rumbled faintly, a soft reply. The moon's voice filled the meadow again, weaving through the glowing grasses. "Every night, creatures on earth look to me. They whisper their wishes, they share their quiet thoughts, and they rest beneath my light. Tonight, you chose not only to look, but to come." Momo's heart swelled. He thought of the nights he had sat on the garden wall, his eyes tilted skyward, whispering to the moon without ever knowing if it heard. And now, Here it was, speaking to him, gentle and real. The moon's glow deepened, and from it drifted shapes like soft ribbons of mist. They curled down into the meadow, brushing Momo's fur. Wherever they touched, he felt warmth sink into his body, loosening even the tiniest tension, making him feel as though he had always belonged here. You are small, yet your journey was large, the moon said. Because the heart that longs for dreams is as vast as the sky itself. You have come with wonder, with calm, with trust. And so, I will give you a gift. Momo's ears perked. His star friends gathered closer, their lights glowing brighter as if they too were eager to see. The butterfly star perched on his paw, the fox star leaned against his side, and the bird star fluttered just above his head, scattering gentle sparks into his fur. The moon's light condensed slowly into a single form. A small object began to shimmer above the meadow, glowing more brightly until it drifted down, cradled by silver mist. It was a collar, delicate yet strong, woven of threads of moonlight and dotted with tiny stars. As it descended, the stars blinked like friendly eyes, each one holding a little piece of peace. The moon's voice spoke again. Wear this gift, and you will always carry the calm of the meadow, the hush of the night, and the dreams of the stars. Wherever you sleep, wherever you rest, you will know that the moon is with you. Momo's eyes widened, round and glimmering. He stepped forward, and the collar lowered gently onto his neck. It rested lightly against his fur, so soft that he could hardly feel it, and yet he knew it was there, glowing faintly, filling him with warmth that reached all the way to his heart. He purred loudly now, the sound vibrating into the meadow. The flowers leaned closer as though listening, their petals glowing brighter at his joy. The star creatures chirped and twinkled, their little bodies circling him in a dance of celebration. The moon's glow settled into a calm shimmer. Thank you for visiting, little dreamer. You may stay as long as you wish. Or, when you are ready, you may return to your home, carrying the peace you have found here. Momo lowered himself back onto the glowing grass, the collar of stars resting against his chest. His eyes blinked slower and slower, the light of the moon above washing over him. He felt no need to hurry. The night was endless here, and he could rest in this meadow as long as he wished, safe beneath the gaze of the moon. Momo lay down in the middle of the glowing lunar meadow, the collar of stars resting softly against his fur, glimmering faintly with every steady beat of his heart. The grasses around him swayed, not because of any wind, but because the moon itself seemed to hum. Its light rippled gently, brushing over the meadow like the softest lullaby ever sung. The star creatures gathered closer, forming a protective circle around the little cat. The butterfly star landed on a silvery flower, its wings folding and unfolding, sending tiny specks of shimmering dust drifting through the air. The fox star stretched out beside Momo, its glowing tail curling protectively against his side. And the bird star perched just above his head, wings spread, scattering faint sparks of golden light like falling stars. They did not speak, but their presence filled the air with warmth and calm. The lunar meadow itself seemed to prepare for sleep alongside him. The flowers closed their crystal-like petals halfway, glowing faintly from within like lanterns dimmed for the night. The grasses bent lower, their soft humming slowing into long, steady notes. Even the dream pool at the meadow's center stilled, its glowing surface flattening into glass, reflecting the moon's round, kind face. Momo blinked slowly, his eyes heavy but content. He pressed his paws into the glowing grass and kneaded it softly, as if tucking himself into a blanket. His whiskers twitched, his striped tail curled around his body, and he let out a long sigh that echoed like a purr across the meadow. The starry collar against his neck pulsed once, warm and gentle, as though reminding him he was safe, deeply safe. The moon's voice filled the air again, low and steady, carrying through the silver grasses. Rest, little dreamer. You have come far. Here there is no hurry, no fear, no wait. Only peace. Only dreams. Momo's ears twitched at the sound, and his purr rumbled in reply. His eyelids lowered halfway, then all the way, the soft light of the meadow glowing faintly through them. As he drifted further inward, he felt the moon's hum settling inside him, weaving itself into the rhythm of his breath. The star creatures began to move slowly in a circle around him, their lights blinking like fireflies. The butterfly flapped its wings once, sending silver dust down to cover Momo like a quilt. The fox lay so close that its warmth spread across his fur like a second blanket. The bird lifted its wings gently, humming a quiet song that echoed the moon's lullaby. Together, they created a cocoon of light, sound, and calm. Momo's dreams began to rise up gently, as soft as mist. He found himself padding through meadows made of clouds, each step sinking into cushions that glowed beneath him. Stars drifted down to play with him, shaping themselves into little mice that darted ahead, not to be caught, but to guide him forward. He chased them lazily, his paws leaving trails of silver sparks, his laughter a soft purr rolling across the dream. The dream shifted, and he found himself curling up in the crescent of the moon itself, its silver curve shaped perfectly to cradle his small body. The stars tucked themselves close, blinking in rhythm, while the collar of light around his neck pulsed warmly against his chest. He felt held, not only by the dream, but by the entire sky. All around him, the lunar meadow hummed lower and lower, as if sinking into slumber with him. The flowers dimmed to the faintest glow, the grass's song became a single, steady note, and the dream pool shimmered one last time before fading into stillness. Even the moon above grew quieter, its voice no longer words but a soft vibration, like a lull that seeped through every part of him. Momo gave one final sigh. His chest rose, fell, each breath slower than the last. The circle of star creatures paused their glow, dimming in unison, as if bowing their heads to sleep too. The little cat was no longer walking, no longer exploring, no longer wondering. He was drifting, wrapped in silver grass, moonlight, and love. Momo lay so still in the lunar meadow that it seemed as though he had become part of it, his small striped body curled like a crescent, his soft breaths blending with the hush of the moon. The star creatures settled down too, the butterfly folding its silver wings, the fox curling its glowing tail around itself, the bird tucking its golden head under a wing. The whole meadow exhaled together, one long sigh of peace, until the silence was not empty, but full of calm, full of safety, full of dreams. Time on the moon did not move like time on Earth. Moments stretched like threads of light, slow and gentle, so that even a blink felt like an eternity of rest. Momo dreamed deeply, of chasing firefly stars that always stayed just a whisker ahead, of curling up on a bed of clouds that swayed like rocking chairs, of listening to the moon's hum that vibrated softly through his little paws. He was far away, yet never lost. He was surrounded by light, yet never overwhelmed. At last, the moon's voice stirred again, not urgent, but steady and kind, like the warmth of morning sunlight. Little one, the world below is waiting. You have seen the meadow of dreams, and you carry it now in your heart. It is time to rest where you belong. Momo blinked drowsily, his eyes half open, glowing faintly with the moon's reflection. He stretched, his back arching, his whiskers quivering, and gave a long, soft yawn. The starry collar around his neck pulsed once, as if agreeing with the moon's words. His star friends rose slowly, the butterfly unfurling its wings, the fox standing tall with its tail trailing sparks, and the bird circling once overhead. They did not look sad. Instead, they shimmered with joy, as if proud that Momo had walked so far. The ribbon of light that had carried him to the moon appeared again, stretching downward toward Earth. It glowed faintly at first, then brighter, like a silver path lined with lanterns. Momo gave one last glance at the meadow, the glowing flowers, the crystal pool, the grasses that sang, and tucked it all inside his memory. His purr rumbled low and happy, a thank you to the moon, the stars, and the dreamland he had seen. With paws that left tiny sparks behind, he padded onto the ribbon once more. The star creatures walked with him part of the way, their lights flickering a gentle goodbye. At the halfway point, they paused, their glows drifting upward like lanterns floating into the sky. Momo slowed, his eyes shining softly as he watched them return to the stars, but his heart felt no sorrow, only warmth. The collar around his neck shimmered again, a reminder that he would never be alone. Step by step, the ribbon carried him lower. The stars above twinkled kindly, the moon remained steady and watchful, and the earth below grew larger, closer, softer. The rooftops of the little town came into view, their chimneys still, their windows glowing faintly with lantern light. The garden wall where Momo had sat so many times appeared beneath him, familiar and waiting. When his paws touched it again, the ribbon dissolved into the night air, leaving only the faintest sparkle, as though the stars were winking in farewell. Momo curled his tail neatly around his paws and looked up once more. The moon hung exactly where it had always been, round and glowing, but now it felt different. It was not just far away. It was a friend he had met, a place he had visited, a promise he carried in his heart. He gave a final purr toward the sky before hopping down from the wall. The garden smelled of jasmine and earth, the same as always, but somehow sweeter now. He padded softly to the porch, curled himself into a little ball on the doormat, and tucked his nose beneath his paws. The starry collar shimmered faintly, then faded until it looked like nothing more than his own fur. Yet in his dreams, it glowed as brightly as ever. The town around him was quiet. The breeze hummed gently, the crickets played their steady song, and the world seemed to hush in time with Momo's slow breaths. The moon kept watch, its light soft and steady, as if whispering through every window and rooftop. And in that whisper was a message not only for Momo, but for every little dreamer listening: you are safe. You are warm. You are loved. The stars shine for you. The moon keeps watch over you. You can close your eyes. You can rest. You can dream. Momo's breathing deepened into a gentle purr, and the night wrapped him in its arms. Above him, the stars blinked, the moon glowed, and the sky itself seemed to sing a lullaby. The cat who went to the moon had returned, not just with a story, but with peace to carry into every dream. And so the night ended in stillness, in calm, in the sweetest kind of sleep.